Hi everyone, this is Lynn and my channel is Gardening from Square One. So today I am going to be working on a few things in this late December garden, and I'm going to go over the changes that I've made recently, like in the past couple of days, and I'm going to go over some of the cleanup jobs that I've done and things that I have yet to do. Plus, I'm going to throw in a couple of tips if you are designing a new space or redesigning a space or new to gardening. I'm going to add a couple of tips regarding that process as well. Welcome to my garden. So a couple of days ago, I moved these 3 Green Mountain boxwood from my long bed. I had them planted in a space where I don't think they're going to be right. I'm really struggling in determining what I am going to place in the front of the long bed. I have about 3 feet. It goes about 3 feet in depth, and it is specifically for my lower growing plants, things that will become about 2 feet in height. At this point, I don't know what I want to put there, but I did know that these green mountain boxwoods cannot be at the front of the bed. I thought I would create punctuation marks with the tall green mountain box, and then I was going to fill in the front of the bed with shorter boxwoods, so boxwoods that I would keep under 2 feet. And I don't think I'm going to do that. And I think I found a better home. These green mountain boxwoods, they're hardy down to zone 5. Boxwood in our area, so here in central Texas, they're pretty drought tolerant once established. I was living in a rental. We rented a house here, and not too far from where my home is now. And February 2020, excuse me, when Snowmageddon hit, when it was all over, oh my gosh. Not only did I look around my space, but I took frequent walks around the neighborhood, and I made a note of what made it and what didn't, the maturity levels, etc. And so my gardening tip, first and foremost, is to find out what zone you live in. Find out what plants are best for your soil, your climate, your microclimate. Observe the plants around you throughout the year. What do they look like? For me, having evergreen structure is something that was very important. And my fence line has multiple layers. It has these sprinter boxwoods on one side, then it has these blue point junipers that are alive but I've been struggling with. I have dwarf Burford hollies, and then these green mountain boxwoods will create just a different layer of evergreen privacy and evergreen interest. These green mountain boxwoods will become about 5 feet in height and 3 feet in width. They'll create like a pyramid, naturally create like a pyramid kind of shape. And so what I'm going to be doing, I have 3 that I just added recently. So you can see these 3 green mountain boxwood. And I have flags where I'm going to add 1, and then the other flag is where I'm going to add the second one. I've already brought my auger out, and so I'm going to pull the mulch back, start digging these holes, and then I'm going to dig up the Green Mountain box from the long bed and move them over here. So please click subscribe and notifications if you have interest in not only seeing these gorgeous plants, but also seeing my garden as plants grow and bloom. Hole 1 augered in about 60 seconds. Next, hole 2. So as you can see, the hole is dug. Took less than 45 seconds with the auger. So I'll just need to grab the shovel, scoop out the soil, put a little starter fertilizer in the hole. It is a nice deep hole that I dug, but of course we plant everything high here in Central Texas, so it will get planted high, but I've loosened the soil and put some starter fertilizer in to get this plant off to a good start. As you can see, the one that I just showed you is already in the ground, so now I have a group of 4. And so once I get this one in the ground, it will make number 5. So I have a drift of 5 of these Green Mountain boxwood. I need one more for this space right here, so that'll be it. I usually like to plant things in odd numbers, but sometimes with evergreens and other plants it just doesn't work out this way. But I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. It's going to make sense for this bed that has boxwood at the front, and then I have these gorgeous Blue Fortune Agastaki. I have roses behind it, white roses. Where the flags are, to be determined. I don't know if I'm going to add another layer of rose bushes, so there's actually 5. These are all bolero, so I might get 2 more bolero, so there'll be a grouping of 5. I've also contemplated just a completely different variety of white rose, maybe something a little taller with different, a different type of petals, blooms. I'm not certain yet what I'm going to put in between those roses. They will be directly behind the Blue Fortune Agastaki. I also have Beyond Midnight Caryopteris in this bed, and that has a very dark blue. Some people say purple. Looks purple to me, but anyway. And so I've thought about putting Beyond Midnight Caryopteris, so the darker blue or purple, in between the roses. I don't know, it will come to me, but what I've decided to do with this garden, I am not going to hastily make any decisions regarding what to plant. I use the flags to follow the sun to figure out what the best space is for the plant, but I also mark out and measure. So once I figure out how far or what area something needs to be in, I will then watch the sun throughout the day, because this area is part sun, part shade. And tip number 2, pay attention to whether or not the plant requires part sun, part shade, and watch the area where you want to plant something throughout the day and different times of year to make sure that the plant is going to get what it needs in terms of part sun, part shade. My husband used to think I was nuts because he'd see me put a flag in a spot and then move it like 2-3 feet away. He's like, what are you doing? And it's because I'm watching the sun and I'm trying to find the optimal space or spot for it to be in to make sure that its sun requirements are met. So now I'm going to move over to a different spot. Moving over to the Mott of Trees space right now. And as you can see, these calicarpa, so beauty bushes, I haven't been happy with them. And I tried to cancel the order when I looked at even more images showing it really does not have the color leaves that I wanted for this bed. It really has light green leaves throughout the year. The one back there, so this one over here, was infested with ants at one point, which wasn't so great, but that's all taken care of at this point. I'm going to dig them out and give them to a neighbor who really, really, really likes these plants. And I have 2 Henry Dole-Burke Salvias. They are Texas superstars. I have them over here in my wheelbarrow. I dug them out from a different position in the yard, and I really cut them back. I need to do a little more, but I'm going to put them in that spot and see if they do better for me. I mean, for heaven's sakes, they are Texas superstars, but they just haven't been a superstar in my garden. So I'm going to plant them over here and see if they perform a little better. Plus, if they do, that dark purple will look good. I think the dark purple will look good over here with these white Salvia gregii. So these are semi-evergreen Texas natives. I think the Henry Dulberg Salvia, uh, which is going to be planted right behind these lovely white blooms on these semi-evergreen Salvia gregii. And then right here, this is a viburnum that I've had for 2 years and it's done nothing. Hasn't bloomed, hasn't grown. I've moved it. It just has done nothing. So I have a denim and lace Russian sage, an extra that I'm going to put in this spot. So yes, I thought I was done with the Henry Dulberg Salvia, but it is a Texas superstar, and since it was rated as such, I figured, well, I give it another try, but also any chance that I can repurpose plants that are already in my yard, instead of making a purchase where it makes sense. So I was going to purchase a tall perennial salvia for this spot. So it'll be behind the white Salvia gregii. You see the pretty white blooms on this. The Salvia gregii is semi-evergreen here in central Texas. It is a Texas native. These Henry Dulberg Salvia, they are not. They will pretty much die back to the ground here and then start sprouting new leaves in late February, early March. So I've planted both of them, planted high. Now they're in a space where they receive filtered sun throughout the day, and then when the afternoon hits, so sometime around 2 o'clock, they start to receive full sun. These are full sun plants here in central Texas. Planting these salvia in part sun throughout the day, and then full sun from about 1:30ish until the sun goes down. That works for us here when plants require full sun. Many plants don't need full, sun up to sundown sun, but they definitely need about 6 hours. And so this Henry Dulberg salvia will get that. I also planted it a little higher than I did when I planted it at the other location, the other spot where I had it planted. All I need to do now is go in and I'm just going to cut this plant all the way back. And hopefully all we'll see is the new little fresh green growth at the base of the plant. So that's all I have left to do with this. I have 2 more chores. One is to remove this viburnum. I think it was called Steady As She Goes. It has steadily done nothing in my yard. So I have a denim and lace Russian sage that I'm going to place right here. I think it's going to be really pretty because over to the right, these are lavender blooming veronica. So there'll be the lavender blooming veronica, the blue of the denim and lace Russian sage, the white of the Salvia gregii, and then of course the deep blue of the Henry Dulberg salvia. So that's kind of the method to my madness. One other thing that I have to do as well, after I dig up this viburnum and plant the denim and lace Russian sage. So this frontage space is where I am planting my daffodils. I've already planted up to that flag, so beyond the flag where it's still trenched out, I still have to plant daffodils. Coming back, probably beyond the trench by about 5 feet. This raking, it's definitely lets you know the parts of your body that you need to work out more often. I'm always so sore after I've been raking soil and mulch and things like that back. I'm not going to plant these daffodils today, but I am going to go ahead and pull out this viburnum and put the denim and lace Russian sage in its place. So this is going to go. And then I have, I removed two of the green mountain boxwood from the long bed back there. I have some baby Jim boxwood that I'm going to put in its place. Once I plant those, I'm going to be done with my chores for the day. The biggest thing that I have left to do for the season, though, is to get the rest of these daffodils in the ground. We've had a very mild winter. Our temperatures have been in the 70s. In a few days, we're going to hit 81. But the lows have been consistently in the 50s, which is prime time still for planting daffodils. I think in about 8 days, we're going to hit a low of about 38, which is still fine. We typically here in Central Texas plant our daffodils from Thanksgiving until Christmas. Today is December 27th. And so none of these rules are hard and fast. What you really have to pay attention to is the low temperature. So you want below 50 for the daffs here in Central Texas. And then you want to make sure it gets done no later than the very beginning of January. But like I said, watch the temperatures. If it's freezing, you don't want to be out there trying to plant daffodils when, after a hard freeze. That's not coming for, it's not on the horizon, even in our 10-day forecast. I think the lowest we're going to get here is 38 for a day and then back up into the 40s. So while I still have time, I'm going to get it done tomorrow, hopefully. Okay, so all done. This plant in front of us, this is a Fruitland Dye Tea Olive, is the denim and lace Russian sage that I just planted and watered in. So next I'm off to the long bed to plant one of the remaining baby Jim boxwoods that I have to put in the ground. I dug up the Spring Mountain boxwoods and planted them over in the north Mott of Trees space. So here goes. So I saved the easiest chore for last. I pulled the Green Mountain boxwood out of this space right here. It is the second one that I planted in the Mott of Trees. I am going to put this baby Jim box in its place, and this is in my long bed. This baby Jim boxwood is in its new space. Space that was formerly it had a Green Mountain boxwood here, which is too large for the front of the planting bed. Yesterday I cleaned out this space. So on the left, right here, I planted, that's the denim and lace Russian sage that came in, and it looked like the box had been turned upside down and it was squashed. But there's green growth in there. I'll let Home Depot know. They have a very good plant warranty, and we'll see what happens. I moved the purple fragrantia rose back about 2 feet, and then the other denim and lace Russian sage is over there, so I planted that one just to clean this little space up a bit. This Busy Bee Vitex in front of this Arizona cypress is going to be replanted to the Mott of Trees, and I am going to put an El Nino. No, what am I putting here? I'm putting a Catawba crepe myrtle, so it's semi-dwarf, so it'll be nice over in the space. I'm actually moving a Catawba, the one in the Mott of Trees, to this long bed as well. I have to check its zones, its cold hardiness, because if it's a zone 7 to 9, I'm not touching it. It's going to stay where it is in the ground, and I will move it late February, early March to the. I hope you have a great day in your garden. Thanks for watching.